Hello, it's Rob Bradshaw from Theology on the Web. This is the second in the series I'm doing on theological journals hosted on the Theology on the Web websites. I had some good feedback from part 1, so I hope you enjoy this instalment. The European Journal of Theology is rather unusual in that its articles are published in the three main European languages, English, French and German. So you will find articles throughout the volumes in those three languages. Most of the articles I've digitised are of course in English because I don't speak French or German, but I have been trying to add more French and German articles as I've gone along. With the French and German articles there is an English summary at the beginning, but there isn't actually a translation into English of the article itself. My agreement with the editor of the European Journal of Theology is that after the articles have been in print for 5 years, I can seek permission from the authors and put the articles online on biblicalstudies.org.uk. The journal Evangelical, subtitled The British Evangelical Review, is now sadly no longer in production. However, this means that I'm able to get permission from the authors to place all of the articles online. The only limitation is actually to be able to contact the author and ask permission. There are, as you can see, the subjects covered include biblical exposition, missions, and various aspects of theology and theologians. So that the material is quite useful. I think it's an underrated journal, and it's one that I'm going to be spending more time in obtaining permission to get the articles online. So keep your eye on these pages to see what new material is being added. The Evangelical Quarterly is, in my opinion, the most significant English language journal published. That's not true, is it? The Evangelical Quarterly is, in my opinion, the most significant English theological journal published in the 20th century. And it has to be said that the articles in my opinion, the Evangelical Quarterly is the most significant British theological journal published in the 20th century. It has to be said that the quality of the articles improved dramatically after F.F. Bruce took over the editorship in the 1950s, and you'll find on the website a tremendous number of the articles available online, with contributions by such people as Peter Craigie, Alan Millard and Walter Kaiser, and many articles by F.F. Bruce himself. And see, there's an article also by John Drain there. I'm working again closely with the publisher to get as much of this material online as possible. And though I'm still looking for copies of the earlier issues to scan, the quality of the articles is not as good as those that are currently available. But for completeness, I want to try and get the whole journal available. And I think that whether you're studying pastoral theology or missions or whatever aspect of theology, you will find some material in these articles which will be of interest to you. The Evangelical Review of Theology is published by the World Evangelical Fellowship, and it's the last of the 4 Paternoster journals that I am currently working with. It's distinct from the others in that most of the articles which appear in the journal were not actually written for this journal. They were republished from another theological journal. So unfortunately that means, as far as I'm concerned, it means that I've got to get permission from the author and from the editor of the journal that it was published first in, which makes it a very difficult proposition to get permission to place this material online. And I don't currently have enough spare time to pursue this. There are other journals which are easy to get permission to reproduce their material, and so what I've done is produce a table of contents that is publicly available, and where possible I have got an odd article, but hopefully if you look at the articles that are listed here and can get access to the print copies, you will find much material that will be useful to you in your studies. Probably the largest project I've completed to date is the digitisation of the journal The Expositor, which ran from 1875 to 1914. That's the end of Series 8, which is the last one I have access to at present. The journal was intended for Bible teachers and pastors, and so many of the articles are on exegesis of difficult passages, book introductions, textual criticism, and some quite unusual subjects that you probably wouldn't find covered elsewhere. The contributors included such notable theologians as James Denny, William Ramsey, who's the author of Paul Traveller and Roman Citizen, James Orr, George Milligan, James Moffat, A.M. Fairbairn, and George Adam Smith, and a host of others. So among the thousands of articles here, there are many that I'm sure will still be of great interest to modern readers. The Gospel Perspectives series, of course, isn't a journal, but I wanted to include it in this introduction because I think it's made an important contribution to the study of the Gospels in the 1980s. I was able to get permission from the publisher to put on one chapter from each of the volumes, and I actually held a poll on my blog to find out which would be the most useful for people, and these are the essays that they chose. Robert H. Stein on the criteria for authenticity, Don Carson on historical tradition in the fourth gospel after Dodd, what? From volume 3, people chose James J. Moo, Tradition in the Old Testament in Matthew 27, 3 through 10. I wasn't able to include volume 4. In volume 5, we have Richard Bowcom's article on the study of gospel traditions outside the canonical gospel, problems and prospects. And finally, in volume 6, we have Craig Blomberg's The Miracles as Parables. Well, that's all for now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching these, please like the videos and subscribe so you don't miss the next instalment. Part 3 should be available sometime next week.